The peach brandy I made a little while ago, and of course the version that I decided to oak. Now this I've decided is ready to bottle, but what I want to do today is talk about should I have oaked it in the first place, and if I decide that that's what I would do again, if I was going to make the stuff again, would I do anything differently? Oh, and cocktails, because... How's it going, chasers? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. I'm Jesse and this is Still It. Now, a little while ago, I made this video here where I took a bunch of peaches and in a very labor-intensive way because I could, and I thought it was funny to do so, I turned it into peach brandy. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you didn't watch that video, by all means go and check it out up here because I think it's probably worth you knowing that before we watch this video. But here's the deal, guys. Basically, I've been nursing this along. I've decided that I don't want to let it go any further. It's ready. I want to bottle it. And there's some interesting sort of differences between how the straight stuff that's white and the oak age stuff is tasting. And I kind of wanted to go through that because a bunch of you in that last video were sort of hinting that maybe I should have just left it white and, you know, what's the obsession with oak aging everything, which I get. That's fair enough. But before we get into that, I want to show you how I'm making this cocktail because I'm really enjoying it. And to be honest, we don't really talk about the actual, enjoyment and drinking a whole lot on this channel. I know we taste and I kind of pull it apart, but I don't just chill out and enjoy stuff too much with you guys. If this is the sort of thing that you think we could do a little bit more of, let me know in the comment section down below. Time for a refill. Rocks Glass. This is the Chase the Craft Rocks Glass, the sleek Chase the Craft Rocks Glass. If you're interested in picking up one of these glasses for yourself, you can get them on chasethecraft.com. The first thing we're going to need is sugar.
1 teaspoon of sugar to be precise, followed up with a couple of dashes of Angostura's bitters, a squeezed quarter of a lime, fresh mint, muddled all together before filling the glass up totally with ice and adding 2 parts of our peach liqueur and 2 parts of a nice gin. Top it up with some relatively mellow tonic. There won't be a lot of room left. A gentle little stir, and if you want to be all fancy pants, you can garnish it with some more lime and some fresh mint. For those of you that are going to moan that I touch the ice with my hands, get over it. The cocktail's for me.
I kind of made a mess making this cocktail. I guess the first one got to me a little more than I thought. But here's the thing, guys. The sugar, the lime, and the Angostura really brings out the peach flavor, but it's balanced against that sort of classic gin and tonic bitterness. I don't know. I don't think it's for everyone, but if you're into that kind of gin and tonic sort of vibe, this is a fresh new look at it for me anyway. But honestly, guys, I don't know that much about cocktails and cocktail theory. That's something that I should potentially do a little bit more learning about if you guys are interested in that sort of content. Speaking of learning, we need to talk about today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of courses made up of people that are actually practicing what they teach. It's curated specifically for learning, meaning that there's no ads and they're always uploading new classes, which means you can stay focused on what you need to learn. Recently, I've been watching Finding Fulfillment Using Pivots by Emma Gammon. You guys know that recently I was kind of forced to make a really big change in my life. Thank you, COVID. And even though I'm on the other side of that big pivot, this course is really helping me solidify things in my mind and helping me look forward to what I could be doing differently in the future. If Skillshare sounds like what you need to keep learning, then the first 1,000 Still It subscribers that click on the special link in the description down below will get a 1-month premium subscription to Skillshare for free. You can cram a whole lot of learning into 1 month. I guess I'll nurse this for the rest of the video, because honestly, that's getting to me a little bit. It is quite strong. Anyway, what I want to do first is taste this guy here. And the reason that I want to do that is going back and looking at the original video that I made and tasting this now. I'm not sure if this has changed over time or whether, I don't know, like I've changed over time. Obviously I have, or whether my ability to taste it has changed over time. I don't know. But here's the thing, guys. It has almost, let me give it a go. It's separated a little bit. There's 2 things going on. There is the initial hit of the essence of peach, almost very much like a peach essence, a peach lolly, a peach ice cream, a peach sorbet that's been mass produced, that's just had peach ester thrown into it. That's kind of sitting on one end, and it's not horrible, but it's pushing that. I don't know. It's almost in that fake peach category. And then on the very, very other end of things, coming up at the back end of it, at the finish, it has all of the other things that make peach. So kind of the skin note. I guess if you think of licking a peach that you haven't actually bitten into yet. So the skin flavor, the almost like that hairy fluff on the outside of the peach, and then the peach notes that you get when you eat too close to the stone. I guess when I speak of them like that, it makes those individual flavors sound horrible, and I don't mean that. When I blended this from the cuts off the still, I wanted to retain some of those flavors to give the full experience of eating a peach, right? I didn't want it to be a one-dimensional, estery, peach lolly kind of thing. I wanted to include some other parts of the peach eating experience to make it taste like real peach, not like peach lolly. But as this is sat over time, or perhaps I've changed, like I said, I'm not sure which, those two things have separated, and you get one and then kind of just alcohol in the middle and then the other at the end. And I don't know why. I don't get it. I don't understand. That's just the experience that I'm getting now. Let me give it another go. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting. If you guys have recommendations on what you think is happening here, by all means, pipe up in the comment section down below. And the reason that I wanted to taste that first is because this, on the other hand, is kind of different. It's quite different. And this one I get very, very little wood. Especially on the nose. It still smells like putting your face into a fresh box, a fresh basket of peaches. I don't get that with this. Now I will obviously say that there is a little bit more to this on the nose. There is a little bit of kind of that vanilla and caramel that comes from wood, but there's not a lot of the straight up wood flavors, if that makes sense. So different, so different. So initially you get hit with that peach flavor, that estery peach flavor, but as soon as that hits, it starts bleeding into all of those other peach aspects, all of those other things that make up a peach. It's almost like you can feel the peach pulp in your mouth, if that makes sense, as opposed to this, that you don't get that experience whatsoever. But then as you swallow and as the aftertaste sort of carries on, that's where the oak presence really starts to show up. You get a little bit of oak tannin, you get a little bit of straight up oak flavor, but it sort of undulates between woodiness and peachiness. But the wood gives those flavors that are almost undesirable in peach. It gives those a backbone and a platform to sit on, and it adds a fullness and almost like a caramel sweetness to it. So you start off with fresh peach and then you go into almost like peach pie at the end. That's what this feels like. This feels like peach lolly and then peach skin, peach fluff, and peach seed at the end. So I don't know. I mean, I really, in some ways, wanted this to work because you're right, guys. You're right. I do oak age a lot of things, and it's kind of a crutch that I fall back on a lot. So if there's something that isn't quite working, throw some oak in it and see what happens, and I'll find a way to make it work. So I would like to make white spirits like this work better, and I feel like when it was really fresh, it did. Maybe it morphed over time. Maybe having it, sitting half empty for months has changed it. I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think. The one thing I will say, actually, going back to the nose on this, is that the white version has a fresh fruit acidity and brightness to it that the oak-aged version doesn't have so much. That's been kind of rounded out. You know how when you eat fresh fruit or you think of fresh fruit, the idea of the acidity of that fruit kind of jumps out and makes you salivate? This has a little bit of that still, whereas this is not so much. I guess in some ways this almost makes sense based on my history and what I enjoy making and what I guess I make a little bit more often. In that the idea of making whiskey is that you will take a slightly wider cut, knowing that things are going to get cleaned up as they age a little bit. And this is by no means overly jaggy and overly horrible. It's still perfectly nice to drink, like, for example, in the cocktail that I'm forgetting about sitting over here. It really is quite nice, and it adds a interesting peach note to something like this. It's at the point now where I probably won't drink it straight because I've kind of pulled it apart too much. But my point is that perhaps I just went a little bit too far into the grungier tails for a white spirit. Maybe that's the mistake I made, and that leaving it on oak for a decent amount of time has kind of cleaned some of those rough edges up, and those rough edges have almost given that small amount of X factor that when polished back down, they make something a little bit more special in a brown spirit. I don't know. I think perhaps the answer to this riddle is that I just need to play with fruit more. I need to ferment fruit more. I need to distill fruit more. I need to cut fruit more off the still and just get used to what happens at each of those steps and how those steps differ from making a whiskey or a brown spirit, basically. Anyway, guys, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have some advice for me, drop it in the comment section down below. I know I don't get to reply in the comment section all the time anymore, but trust me, guys, I do go out of my way to make sure I'm reading those comments regularly, and I use what you guys are saying to kind of shape what we're doing in the future. So thank you for that. Anyway, if you're not subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button down below, and I'll catch you next time, guys. Keep on chasing the craft. See ya.